Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast with Christine Luken, the financial dignity coach. In this podcast, we help you recover a positive and peaceful relationship with your personal finances. We do this by bringing together wise money management with emotional intelligence. Join us for this journey where we navigate our relationship with money as Christine Luken draws from years of experience and guest experts to help you get to the root of your money issues.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Money is Emotional podcast. I am your host, Christine Luken. Today's episode is for the entrepreneurs and business owners. You'll discover how to make big money on social media, even with a small audience. I am honored to welcome my friend and special guest, Ina Coveney. Ina is a marketing strategist, coach, and the host of the Superhumans podcast, where she delves into the minds of the super successful, sharing lessons and ideas that help all of us chase and achieve our wildest dreams. Ina helps business owners create a magnetic brand online by monetizing a small audience first. Ina has been featured in USA Today, Business.com, and General Assembly, and runs an online business coaching practice with clients all over the world. Welcome, Ina.
Thank you so much for having me, Christine. I'm so happy to be doing this with you today.
Oh, me too. So, Ina, can you tell us about yourself and the journey that led you to create your coaching business, which helps entrepreneurs make money online? Because that's not where you started, is it?
No, and I don't think anybody wakes up one day and says, I think I'm going to teach people how to make money with a small audience. And nobody thinks that way. In fact, when I first started my business, I actually started as a web developer for small businesses. I did that for 6 years while I had my corporate job, and I still had no idea about the online marketing world. Like I was in the business of creating online presences, and I had no idea that online marketing was a thing. I didn't know anything about funnels and lead magnets and having a pop-up on your website to collect email addresses. What for? Like I had no idea about any of that stuff. Then I discovered, like many people have, Amy Porterfield's podcast, and what fascinated me about her was that she was making her own money doing something that just looked completely fun to me, doing podcasts and being on video. And I'm like, what is happening right now? So when I finally quit my job, that was 6 years ago, I was back in 2018, I really wanted to dive into this world. And I came in with the same thought as everybody else. You need to grow your audience in order to make money. And I did that for 2 years, just trying really hard to grow my audience. But my audience wasn't growing. And I was even afraid of telling people that I had any kind of success because they could clearly see on my profile that my audience was really small. Then 2 years into it, I had somebody said, blah, 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 6-figure entrepreneur. And I'm like, wait a minute, how are they defining that? Like, if you have made 6 figures of revenue, does that make you a 6-figure entrepreneur? So I literally had the question for myself, can I call myself a 6-figure entrepreneur? I'd never done the math because I had never looked at my finances close enough to know how much money I was really making, because all I cared about was that little number next to my profile of how many followers I had. So 2 years into this journey, I went and I dove into the numbers and I counted. I'm counting dollars, like one at a time. Like, does this add up? And by that time, I had already made 6 figures over the past 2 years, right? The first year, I only made $16,000.
Yeah.
But by the second year, the end of the second year, I had made 100,000. And I'm like,
that's amazing.
And I'm going to tell you, I got angry. I got so mad. Why was I investing all of that money? I'm like, I have made $100,000. Where is that money? I had been pouring it into programs and coaches and courses to try to grow my audience. So I kept investing into something that was not working. But when you look at my numbers, I was making money. So I'm like, why hasn't anybody said this out loud, that it is possible to make money with a small audience so that they can stop chasing getting more followers, which is as easy as some people make it look. It's actually a really hard thing to do. We don't actually have control over how many people follow us. Some people will claim to have a special formula, right? Really, I'm going to give it to you right now. I'm going to tell you right now what it comes down to. Spending money on ads and creating a whole bunch of short form video. That's how you grow your audience. If you're not spending all of your time and effort into posting 3 reels a day and into diving deep into ads to grow your audience, growing it organically is like a unicorn situation. That's just not how people are growing their audiences right now. But we keep trying to do this, not realizing that it's not a logical step. It's not like grow your audience, make money. I had somebody from my audience come to me after she had gotten like 100,000 followers, like in just a few months, because her reels were really kicking in and really hitting a nerve. After 100,000, she came back to me and she's like, okay, so how do I make money? What do I do now? And I'm like, you have not been making money all along. Like, what makes you think that more followers will be more money if you haven't figured out how to give people what they want? So it was that like bam realization 2 years into my business that helped me change my tune. That third year, I became 30% profitable in my business because I started to keep that money, invest it into other things, and focus on the things that were working to make me money. So that's kind of how that projection went. And now by the way, I just hit 2,900 followers on Instagram. I have been at 2,800 in the 2,800 level all year. And I just hit 2,900. I'm here like doing like a little party, but it has no bearing on my business, on how much money I make. Now, I'm the first person to say I want 100,000 followers like yesterday, right? It's not like I don't want a big audience. I do. I just feel like we're all consuming the wrong idea, and it's making us get really stuck and not making the money that we should be making, regardless of the size of our audience, if that makes sense.
No, it makes so much sense. And I think it's probably a huge relief to many people who are listening, especially if they have been in that position like you were, where you're putting all this time, effort, and energy into growing an audience, and either it's not growing fast enough, because what have we been told? It's all about the numbers. If you put enough numbers through your funnel, you're going to make money. Like, it's all a numbers game, but you're actually teaching something different. If you had to say it's a blank game and take out that word numbers, I think I know what you're going to say, but you tell me what you're going to say.
Let's see if you're right. Okay. It's an engagement game, but I don't define engagement the way that most people do. Because if you go and you literally Google, how do I increase engagement on my feed? What you're going to get is tips to get more likes, shares, and comments. That's not what I mean when I mean engagement. I redefined engagement in a way that works for me. And that is the more conversations that I am having with people. So when I tell my clients, like, listen, your engagement is defined by how many DMs you have going, how many relationships you have going, how many coffee chats you're having, like how many people you're actually meeting that are hearing your message, that are hearing about your offer, so that they have the opportunity to see, like, maybe that is something that I need, right? We cannot rely on just our feed doing all the heavy lifting. And the first objection that I get is, yeah, Ina, but nobody's commenting on my stuff. Nobody's engaging with me. So how am I supposed to really start conversations if nobody's really commenting back or liking back or anything, or clicking on my story stickers?
Right.
And I'm like, ever thought of engaging with them first, right? So the way that I like to do this, because I like to sleep well at night. I don't like to be the salesy, pushy, get in everybody's face kind of person. Does not make me feel good. It doesn't make me feel comfortable. So the way that I like to teach starting these conversations is in a way that feels extremely natural to me. If it's not natural to me, it's going to feel salesy and trigger all of those like ugly buzzwords that we put in our head. Like, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. All that stuff gets triggered when we see ourselves doing something that is out of alignment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like just going randomly on somebody's DMs and being like, hey, I have a wait list for my academy. You want to join it now? Like, who knows? Who knows what journey that person is on?
Can
right?
I tell you how many times I get those emails and I'm just like 5 minutes after accepting a friend request, I'm like, oh God, that was a mistake. Then I got to go and unfriend them or ignore them and hope they don't try again and say like, okay, like, why don't you get to know me before?
Right. And the problem is that we don't see genuine engagement as something that is scalable, right? Amy Porterfield, who has a massive audience and a massive operation, she's not following the advice that I'm giving people right now, right? She's not going to people's feeds, right? And trying to engage organically with them. She's not going to her audience and trying to talk to people individually. She can't, right? At her level, it is a numbers game, right? Once you have a machine that works, all you have to do is feed it traffic. And that's what Amy Porterfield has, right? So when we look at Amy's setup, we think, well, if it's good enough for her, it's good enough for me. No, it isn't. There is such thing as a small audience game and a large audience game. And in our small audience game, it's all about those connections. So if I wanted, like we just friended each other, right, Christine, because we were in the same program or whatever. Right. And the first thing that I did after we friended each other was like, hey, by the way, come to my masterclass. Christine is like, really? Like, seriously? Right? No, I have a small audience. I can totally afford the time to say, hey, Christine, we were in the same program over there. What did you think? Right? Like, so tell me more, like just start the conversation, because who knows? You have to, in this game, in the small audience game, you got to keep an open mind that not everybody is necessarily a client lead, that person may have a completely different role in your life. You may end up signing up to work with them. Like you may end up paying them for what they have, right? They may end up being your biggest supporter and promoter of yourself, even if they never bought anything from you. They could just be somebody who has a podcast and they like you and they're like, maybe you can just come and we can talk more. So there's so many different ways that you can make a connection that could be beneficial, but keeping it at just this person needs to be a client and they need to be a client as soon as possible is so short-sighted that it really doesn't help you in the small audience monetization strategies.
Yeah. Well, I did not guess your word exactly, but I think these two words are very closely tied. I was going to say it's a relationship game.
Same.
And
that's what it is.
That is what it is. So let's back up just a little bit. Let's dive into some more of these social media myths that business owners believe about how to grow your social media. So we talked about just, okay, it's a numbers game. What are some of the other things that you see clients doing where you just know, stop. This is a waste of time. Don't do that.
Okay, this one is going to be super controversial.
Ooh, I love it. Tell me. I got it. I'm going to write it down.
Super controversial. But creating, I need to there's so many asterisks to this one. But creating reels that don't have 10 levels deep of criteria, right? So I'm what I see my clients doing is just going and posting a reel and then being so proud of it, because creating a reel is hard. It's time consuming. It's not like putting up a story. Creating a reel, it probably took you an hour, 2 hours. I have posted reels that took me 3 hours to create a single reel. So I see them spending all of this time posting it and so excited or waiting for the engagement to come in, for the post to go viral, and then it doesn't. And then they look at me and they're like, what happened? What should I have done better? I'm like, my friend, you don't have any control over whether that post is going to go viral or not. Like, if you are relying on creating a masterpiece of a reel, then you're putting way too many eggs in one basket, right? So you got to go back to, what is your goal? Is your goal to make money? If so, you should not be focusing on like, I'm going to post this one reel and see what happens. You should be focused on creating opportunities for promotion, right? Get opportunities for people to hear you talk about your stuff. Do you want to start a podcast? Do you want to give a webinar? Do you want to start a Facebook group and just start talking there every day? Do you want to post a message on Instagram every day, just kind of like in a serial way so that people can hear your message? Like, what is it that you want to do to draw people's attention? But one reel that took you 3 hours to do is not the way to do it. Now, if your goal is to grow your audience, then you need to do that masterpiece of a reel at least daily.
Growing your exhausting.
It sounds so exhausting. But if that is your goal, because you know that you already have a machine that works, right? Because you know that every time you get people in your webinar, you always get clients. Once you have validated that that is a machine that is working every single time, even with a small audience, all you need is traffic. Make that machine go in autopilot and then just focus on creating those masterpiece reels every day. There are people out there who post 3 reels a day. That's how you grow your audience. But it's not just 3 reels a day for a week. That is your new way of life, is posting that kind of content for the rest of the foreseeable future to draw traffic to your audience. And yes, it is exhausting. So that's the biggest myth that I see, is that, no, I'm going to create like these 7 reels and then I'm going to see what happens. Okay, you're just going to waste a whole bunch of time for the next 7 days. Satisfied? Did that do anything for you?
Because I don't even want to do it in the first place. So
right?
Let's talk about what should we be doing. Because I know if I'm dying to know this, our audience is dying to know, like, what is the secret to making serious money in your business, even with a small audience? And so you've already like kind of tickled us with engagement. What does that look like? If you and I, obviously you and I have known each other for a long time and we've gotten to be good friends. I've purchased things from you. You're a member of the Wealthy Woman Book Club.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. But let's just say we just connected. Walk us through that process. What does that look like?
Okay. I am here looking around my desk because I think something fell in the back of my desk. So I'm just going to have to describe it to you. I'm so sad that I don't have it. But the secret to making money with a small audience. I used to gift this thing that fell out of the back of my desk and I can't find it anymore. I used to make these little coins, right? Like a little coin, and it was gold on one side, gold on the other side. And I would write on one side content and on the other side engagement. So this is kind of like my point was, if you want to make a buck, right? If you want to make money, you need both things going at the same time. Because I'm going to give you like a really quick workflow of how this works. It's Christine and I meet at a program and we are having a conversation on Instagram. I want you to notice this. Now that I say this, you're going to notice this every time. That as soon, like if we're chatting on DMs, as soon as you exit that conversation and go back to your main feed, Instagram shows you that person's latest or most popular post. Like this is a thing. This is something, now that I said it, you're going to start to notice that as soon as you get out of a conversation, you see that Instagram shows you that person's latest post. And I say latest or most popular because it doesn't necessarily have to be the latest, but just something that they posted recently. This is a thing. This is something that Instagram does. It's like, hey, you were just talking to Christine. Did you know that Christine posted this? So what if I'm talking to Christine. I just found out that, hey, she's a money coach. She can help me with like getting my money story right. She can help me actually like save more money. She can get out of debt, like help me get out of debt, all these things. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Well, Christine doesn't have to outright sell me on the DMs, which is something that I am not comfortable doing. I hate outright selling on DMs. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like for Christine to now feel on the spot. That's like, oh, how do I let her down gently? Because we've had a nice conversation. So how do I let her down now? Like, it's so awkward. I don't like it. I don't like doing it that way. So what would happen if we're talking, I realize that Christine has something that I might want, but we're just talking. Christine doesn't pitch me because she knows that, you know what, if she pitches me, it's just going to be a little bit awkward. I get out of the conversation. And the first post that I see from Christine is just her making lunch yesterday. Missed opportunity, right? Missed opportunity. Yeah. So, but what would happen if Christine is constantly, every week, promoting something that helps people dive deeper? Right? Every single week. It doesn't have to be the same thing. It doesn't have to be a masterclass every single time. It doesn't have to be a webinar or a challenge. It could just be, hey, buy my book. Yeah. Right? Hey, listen to my podcast. Hey, I was just featured in that podcast. Come and check it out. It could be, hey, DM me this word and I'm going to send you my free guide on how to save money. Right? That is an opportunity for me to go like, oh, completely hands off. I don't have to talk to Christine because what if this doesn't work out? I don't want to ruin our relationship. I just want to see, I just want to check out what she has. So I'm going to comment, okay, give me the guide. And then I get the guide from Christine. And now I'm in her funnel. Now I'm in her wave, in her vibe. She didn't make me feel uncomfortable. I still got the help that I needed. And now Christine has a lead for her business. So that's what that coin means. Engagement alone, like me going and going to all of my followers and engaging with their content and starting conversations alone is not helpful enough. I've also had people come and tell me like, hey, I've been talking to people all week and like nothing is happening. I'm like, do they know what you have to offer? How are you educating them on this? Right? If you're doing it on the DMs, it's probably getting awkward fast. If you're not doing it through your content, then how do you think they're going to find out? So your content has to be top-notch and always be directing people to a promotion, whatever that may be. So that's the trick. If you get that going, that's the secret to small audience monetization.
Dare to enter the Wealthy Woman Book Club, where answers exist to forbidden questions, where women of all ages and income secretly gather, where knowledge is shared, where possibilities are explored, where women claim their power. Dare to stay a spell in the Wealthy Woman Book Club. In this place, we lift each other up. In this place, we start dreaming again. In this place, we see financial miracles. In this place, we grow through the glory and the failure. In this place, we step into a new identity. Dare to champion the Wealthy Woman Book Club. We're creating a future where women are financially empowered across the globe. We're creating a future where our daughters stand on equal financial footing with our sons. We're creating a future where we purchase with our principles rather than price tags. We're creating a future where we use the power of money for the benefit of people and the planet. Welcome to the Wealthy Woman Book Club. Dare to come in, woman. Come in. Join us at wealthywomanbookclub.com.
Yeah. So let me back up to that initial conversation. So let's just rewind. All right. So I think you and I met in 2000 or maybe 2001. I think it was 2000. So
I think it was 2000.
Yeah, we met in shout out to Katya Varbanova. We met in
Yay!
her 20K Nation group.
That's right.
And, so in that group, we were all sharing our Instagram handles, like, let's all follow each other. So let's just say you had already implemented this strategy and I followed you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What exactly do you say to me so that it
I say hi.
feels
Yeah. I
welcoming,
say,
not like, oh my God, this person's trying to sell me right after I followed them.
right. No, why would I don't even know what you need. And I don't know how you can help me. Like, it's that open-mindedness that not every person you meet online needs to become a client right now. It's that open-mindedness. So I would just come and say hello. Hi, Christine. We're both in Katya's group. How long have you been in the group for? Oh, I've been there for about 5 years. 5 years? I just joined 2 months ago. Like, what should I expect? And we can have an actual conversation. Now, here's the thing. Not everybody is going to be that chatty, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes this is just a trial and error situation. I'm not giving you a formula that works 100% of the time. I could send a message to Christine and be like, hi, Christine. So happy to meet you there. Like, how long have you been in this membership? And Christine might have been 5 years. And I'm like, oh, like, I've only been there for like 2 months. What should I expect? It's good. Right? Like, I've been in conversations like that where like what I'm getting is like monosyllables. And I'm like, okay, so sometimes I've actually met a lot of introverts who are just short speakers, right? Like there are people who will just like, that's just the way that they engage. So I don't fault anybody. But so sometimes I'll just replace it with a voice note and see if they feel brave enough to talk to me through voice note. Is voice note better than typing? Right? So like just experiment with like, how do I get this person out of their shell? Right? Sometimes if I get myself out of my shell, it invites them to get out of their shell too. Right? Sometimes if you say something that you can both relate to, like, oh, that, meeting that we were just in, that coaching session that we were just in, oh, like, did you notice when they said this? Is that something that you have tried? Right? Like start like push the buttons and see which button actually gets a person to dance, right? To come and want to play with you. If they're not responding, we're just gonna leave it alone. You can follow up a week later and be like, hi, we didn't really finish our conversation. I was wondering like what you thought about that thing. It's possible this was just a busy week, but that's pretty much it. I have been on the receiving end of messages that just keep going and going and going, no matter how much I don't respond. It's like, take the hint. Right?
Yes.
Not interested, just take the hint, right? So you can read the room and take a hint. But the more you do this, the more you'll see how easy it is to spot your people. The people that are willing to want to come and talk and to share and to help, right? And those are the people that I love just becoming friends with. And then through getting to know each other, through them checking out my content, if I'm promoting a masterclass, they might be like, you know what? Ina was kind of nice. She's teaching about this. Let me go and check out what that is. And then you're kind of in that funnel. So that's how you do it. But you got to leave all pretense like out the door, that you know how this conversation is going to go, that you know that this person is going to sign up as a client. You don't, that you know that this person is going to ask you about your services. Probably not going to happen, right? You're just getting to know them and let your content do the heavy lifting.
Yeah. I love that. Well, and I also love that you said you never know who this person is going to be in your network. You don't know if they are going to be a client. They might be. You don't know when. They might be a cheerleader for you. You might buy something from them.
Yeah. I've actually been in those conversations where like that person got in a call with me to buy my services and I ended up hiring them for something. I have been in those conversations. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's so important because it's, you're planting seeds and you're starting a relationship. And that's the advice that I give to a lot of people with social media is to treat it like a networking event or treat it like you're going to a party. Now, obviously, it's a different kind of event. LinkedIn is probably more like a formal networking event, and Facebook is kind of more like a block party.
Right.
But if you think about it, you don't walk up to somebody and just start trying to sell them something or try to have a relationship with them without getting to know them and
Yeah,
introducing yourself.
exactly. I love that analogy because it also plays on the fact that each social media network has its own culture. And it's not the same thing to engage in DMs than it is to engage in the LinkedIn Messenger, right? Or in Facebook Messenger. It's just a completely different block party. They're a completely different setting.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So once your business really starts growing and you're getting this larger audience, how do you shift that dynamic where you are still keeping this closeness and this feeling that you're building relationships without burning yourself out completely?
See, at that point, your business model kind of shifts, right? You go from establishing relationships with individual people, you start to switch to that numbers game we were talking about in the beginning. And this is actually a huge mindset shift, especially for small audience entrepreneurs who we value relationships so much that starting to shift from having one-on-one conversations and getting one-on-one clients, switching to getting massive numbers of clients at one time. It is such a mindset game that you need to figure out how to solve in your brain that you are helping them even if you're not having one-on-one conversations with them, that you can become available through maybe monthly Q&A calls when they can still come and talk to you and you can answer questions, and you can do that in an organized fashion so that everybody feels served. But when you start to get to bigger and bigger numbers, I'm going to tell you right now from personal experience, it's really hard to let go and to accept the fact that people may buy things from you that because you're already at this level, you've already created something that can be self-sustaining, right? So if I've been working with people one-on-one and I turn that into a group program and I turn that into a course, by definition, I'm working through scaling that process so that I can invite 100 people to go and buy that course tomorrow. And it's such a mind game to be able to let go of not talking to every single one of those 100 people who just bought your course. But the best way to segue into it is to just continuously offer opportunities for people to ask you questions. So like monthly coaching calls is a great way to do this. You can also offer VIP programs where some people, like a few people, also still have access to you through one-on-one or group experiences, right? And then you continue to tweak those numbers as time goes on. But yeah, at that point, you need to start controlling your time, right? You need to start controlling like where are people sucking your energy, right? Where are people, maybe you're having way too many one-on-one calls when really the idea was to scale. So now you have to scale back those calls. So it's a whole tweaking game. But how do you keep yourself engaged with people would be through those VIP offers and through those monthly Q&As as you continuously grow. But yeah, it's not an easy one to solve, especially when you've been in the small audience world for a long time.
Yeah. I have seen certain coaches do it really well with their team, where they train their team to do that. And so you feel connected to the person through that caring team member, which I think is a cool way to do it.
Yeah, that is a great way to scale things. In my experience, and I've never done that before, so I'm just purely telling you my opinion. It is not, and I have not done this myself. I have not ever delegated client work to somebody else. What I have experienced and what I have seen other people talk about is that when you join a program and you don't get FaceTime with the person that you were following, the person who brought you in, it can create a little bit of dissatisfaction. It can create a little bit of a sense of like, oh, so I don't get any time with that person. So we always have to be, and I don't know how I'm going to handle it once I grow to those numbers, but it's a good idea to have certain things that you can delegate to somebody else so that you can scale that part. But it is so important for them to feel like they still can get to see you in a special way by signing up for your programs. So giving people an opportunity to get your attention is still going to be important, even if you have a team that you're delegating specific things to. I have been in programs that have been massive programs where they have multiple coaches with different aptitudes that they can help all the clients, and they still keep the owner and the owner's partner, they still keep them having like half-hour catch-ups, every month with the people who are joining based upon request. Right.
Yeah.
And that, which is so valuable because it makes you feel like, okay, that person still knows who I am. Right. So I'll continuously work with their team, but now that person knows the path that I'm on and they can guide me better. We're making a connection on social media. So you also don't want to lose that completely.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you are recording videos, when you are writing your posts, if you are thinking about that one person and speaking to that one person, that comes across. And I know it does with you. Like every time I watch your videos, I just feel like we're best friends, even though you and I have only met in person once and just recently. But it's like,
yeah.
I think we hugged each other like 5 times because it's like,
yeah.
I feel like I know you so well.
Right. Like I feel that too. So like, that's really that power of connection, that I know so many people online that I feel like I know. So I freaked a couple of people out because I see them at a conference and I just run up to them like, hey, how's it going? And I want to give them a hug. And they're like, hello, Ina. This is our first time meeting in person. Let me just remind you. But yeah, I don't do that to people who don't know me. It's for people who know, like connections that I have made online. But yes, totally agree.
Psst. Hey, my friend, are you loving this podcast? We'd be super grateful if you left us a few dollars in the virtual tip jar. This helps us to bring you this valuable podcast 100% for free. Just click on the link to the virtual tip jar in the show notes. Thanks so much. Well, before we sign off for today, I would love for you to tell us about your latest venture, because this is a little bit of a pivot for you, but I'm super excited about the Superhumans podcast. What led you to create this?
I have hosted, I think I counted them one day, like 7 podcasts at this point, including rebrands, including new names of my podcasts. And so I'm a podcaster at heart. I've been doing this, even I was telling you early on before when I was making websites and I didn't know about online marketing, I had a podcast. Like I had no idea about online marketing, but I had a podcast. So it's something I've been doing. I'm a dinosaur. Like I've been podcasting for 12 years. And I know this is something that I always want to be putting out. So every time that I kind of reach a point where I feel like I can do better, I could do this better, I don't like getting stuck in the way that things used to be. I like to look, I'm the boss, right? I'm the boss and I can make every decision. So I like to look at what I have and say, I know that I can do better and I can do this better. So my last podcast, it was the Global Phenomenon podcast. And I was interviewing people for their story. And if you go back to that, to the early episodes of the Superhumans podcast, it was really diving into people's like upbringing. Hey, what made you the way that you are? And I interviewed some really big people, Sean Cannell from Think Media and Brock Johnson, the Instagram Reels King, right? And
yes.
Laura Bell-Gray, Marie Forleo's partner in the Copy Cure, right? Like I have some really big people on the chair and I got to ask them specifically about their upbringing. Then I went through this phase last year where I wanted to map my podcast to my offer, which was my Get Clients First program, which is everything we're describing right now is outlined specifically in my Get Clients First course. Exactly how to do it, exactly how to co-create with somebody that you just met, like all of that is inside Get Clients First. So I switched to calling it Get Clients First and let's just talk to coaches about this. And recently I was like, I don't want to just restrict myself to talking to coaches about coaches' experiences. I want to talk to Simone Biles. I want to talk to Michelle Obama. I want to talk to like really like people who think of the world in a completely different way in order to inspire us. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I can do this better. So I worked with my podcasting mentor and we completely reimagined this experience. So the Superhumans podcast, we aim to humanize people's success, right?
Mm.
Like you were on the podcast. This is when we
I
met
know.
in
I'm so
person
excited.
down in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And it's great because I see you publishing books. I see you
Mm-hmm.
becoming, financially independent. I see you like leading people to better financial health. And I think of you as somebody that figured something out that so many of us still haven't. So I wanted to talk to you about all that stuff. Like, how do you go about this? What are some things that people can shift in their minds so that they can also become authors and they can also become successful coaches and do what they want to do in their life like that? So those are the conversations that I'm having like every week on the podcast, just asking somebody who figures something out so they can inspire the rest of us. So that is a Superhumans podcast. And with it, because now I'm here thinking, how do I scale my offers? Same thing we've been talking about. I decided to put my brain for copywriting, for funnel creation, for getting clients with a small audience and put them into a Superhuman Academy. So that's what I'm in the process of creating right this instant. And
Awesome.
that has been so rewarding because like everything that I do for clients to get their funnels ready, to get their freebies and their offers and get like their ads set up, like all of the stuff that I do for clients, I'm now doing for myself for the first time, really. So it feels amazing to be like in my zone of genius and to get to experiment with things that I love doing. So that's the Superhumans podcast. I really hope everybody will go and listen. We have some amazing interviews. I just got a message today from one of my friends who said that, hey, I just listened to your latest interview with Kate Northrup. I loved her. I just bought her book. I just like listened to it this morning. It was awesome. I'm like, this is inspiring people that I didn't even know needed that kind of inspiration. So I really hope that if you're on a podcasting app, you will go and search it up. Superhumans is 2 words, super space humans, and then go find it and subscribe it and start binging on it.
Well, we're going to put the link in the show notes and for your new membership, because I have a feeling that what we have talked about today is getting the gears going for a lot of entrepreneurs. And they're like, I want more of that. And
But how do you do
I am
that?
going to be, I hope I'm the first person to say this. The way that you interview is so very different from all the other podcast episodes that I've appeared on.
Wow.
Because that human part, you have a way of pulling that out of the story and out of the success. And we talked about some extraordinarily deep things on the podcast recording between you and I that I have never talked about publicly before. I think you're going to be the next Oprah. And when you start saying, you get a car and you get a car and you get a car, I'm going to be in the front seat.
I hope I get to give a card to everybody, but that is so kind of you to say because I remember our conversation and you were extremely open with me. And I think that's what we were just talking about. Like, how do you push buttons to see like what is it that this person is passionate about? And when I started to hear your story, I'm like, if you want to go in there with me, we will go in there and tell everybody what this truly is about. So I am really looking forward to publishing your episode because everybody needs to hear your backstory. It was amazing. Like the fact that you are where you are based on where you started and everything that happened, it makes you a superhuman. So I was so honored that you would share that story with me on the pod. So everybody needs to go and subscribe now so that you don't miss it when Christine's episode comes out, because I'm telling you, it's just going to like drop your socks.
Oh, awesome. Well, we could talk for probably 3 more hours, but unfortunately we don't have that much time. And I know Bill is dying to chime in and close us out, but thank you so much for being here. I always have fun and meaningful conversations with you. And I am so sure that our listeners are walking away with actions to grow their business in a meaningful way. And we're going to link up your Instagram. I know that's where you are most active, and some of your other social media links, along with the Superhumans podcast and your new membership.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christine. This was so fun. And thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you were great. I really enjoyed the conversation. In fact, I kept forgetting to let Christine know where she was in time.
I'm not taking that as a compliment.
Because I got engaged. That's why. Because
amazing engagement.
Exactly. It's funny. I am so not a salesman, okay? And I tried to be a salesman once, but I've known some people who are really good at sales. And the thing that the most successful person I have ever known at sales, and I mean in a massive way, said to me, it is not about sales, Bill. It is about relationships. It's about engaging people. Mm-hmm. And I kept hearing him all throughout your voice. I kept remembering him thinking, wow, this way. And he told me this 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You were really, you put it in plain, easy, accessible language, and it's great. It's great. I will become a subscriber to Superhumans here.
Yay. Thank you so much, Bill. No. And it is totally about relationships. I just had somebody come and quote me to get a new garage door, and they were so pushy. I had to tell them to get out of my property. I'm like, no, I'm not deciding right now. He's like, well, it's always about the money. If we drop the price, what is it going to be? What is it going to be? What is it going to be? I'm like, I'm not making this decision with you right now. The contrast, another company that contacted me, they came to my house, they fixed my door because it was broken for no cost, left me a brochure and said, whenever you're ready, we'll replace your door. You have my business. They were at least $500 more expensive than that other company. And I don't care because I'm never calling all those people again. Instead, I'm having a great conversation with my friend Justin, who's helping me pick the right door at the right time for me. And he got my business. So It's relationships.
Exactly. And everybody who's on LinkedIn, and I'm on LinkedIn, has gotten that, I'd like to connect with you. You look at the person, you think, okay, they're interesting. This is an interesting field. We have some mutual connections. And so I will, okay, I'll accept. I don't know this person, but I'll accept. And I hate it when I accept. And then I suddenly get a totally, really personal message. And I'm like, I immediately lose that connection because I just, there's a line somewhere between, it's nice to be connected with, how have you been? It's like, well, I don't know you.
We don't know each other.
We don't know each other.
Let's be real.
So stop it. Let's be real here. Let's be real. But thank you. Thank you so much, Ina. It was a really pleasure meeting you. And by the way, I did send you a connection request on LinkedIn.
I will go and accept it. Thank you, Will.
But then again, I expect these quality of guests on Christine's show because Christine, it's very rare that Christine doesn't have a guest on this program that I don't connect with immediately and find incredibly interesting. So those of you who are listening to the podcast, do yourself a favor right now. Hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, become a subscriber. That way, every time she drops a new episode, you're notified and you can give it a listen. And Christine, for those who are listening who aren't connected with you yet or who don't know you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and maybe have their own conversation?
Yeah, well, I'm on all the major social media platforms if you just search my name, or you can go to christineluken.com. You can find all the different ways to connect with me, including joining me and Ina in the Wealthy Woman Book Club.
Yay! Everybody should go and join.
Oh, do you talk about Hetty Green in the Wealthy Woman Book Club? I just want to know.
Yes, we did. We talked about Hetty Green, one of the unsung founders of the investing world. So, yeah.
Really remarkable woman. I know her name only because you sent it out in an email this morning. Yeah. And I was fascinated by her story. And if you were listening to this and think,
what the heck is
well,
that?
I'm not saying no more. I'm just, you're going to have to join the Wealthy Woman Book Club. Find out about it for yourself. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Bill Tucker on behalf of Christine. We want to thank you for your time today and remind you that you can go out today and make today a great day or not. It's your choice. Use it wisely. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money is Emotional podcast. To get in touch, Visit our website at www.christineluken.com or drop us a line at hello@christineluken.com. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Christine Luken. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your advisor, tax professional, or other qualified financial professional with any questions you may have regarding your personal finances.